Hello. Since the warm weather months are over, we figure it's a good time to take a walk down memory lane at the last 8 months of projects that we've got completed. It's raining ice right now, so we're going to try to make it quick. We left Washington and we took a road trip across the country with our kids and a dog, and we came to upstate New York, which we're here now, our new home. The drive was pretty cool, I guess.
It was long.
It was a long drive.
Pretty long.
Yep. But we arrived at the house. It was snowing still. It was March. We found out quick that the spring here doesn't start as early as it does in Washington. So we got to unpack and get settled in while it was snowing.
It's our house, and there's our garage.
Get ready to charge, Finn.
I bet Dad's trying to figure out what he wants to do. Ooh, it just sunk. There it is. There's our new home.
Hey, Mom. No.
Craziness. Is that Nami?
Finn.
Oh, it really does go way down. Aww. Can't believe he's not falling off.
So the very first thing we got when we moved here was we built a little brooder box. We ordered meat chicks, Cornish cross. We got a little impatient while we were waiting for them to be delivered, so Tabitha picked up some chicks from Tractor Supply, put those in the brooder box, and then added the meat chicks when they arrived.
Do you like it? No, we don't.
Oh, the butt.
Let's count. We got 1, 2, 3, 8, 29. Nope, exactly 30.
It wasn't too far in between, so they got along real well. We only lost a couple of them, fortunately. And then after that, it was time to build a coop. We already had this lean-to set up on the garage, and so I just built this wall and the door I repurposed from the barn before we tore it down. This way they got a coop. We can have the brooder box in there when we're raising chicks. We're gonna set up like plywood on the outside here pretty soon so that the snow doesn't drift in there. And they got a little heated water dish in there.
When we first moved onto this property, we had an old barn. It was in kind of rough shape, but we weren't sure if we'd be able to use it. That would have been ideal. And so Brady and our neighbor Dawn worked on it one day trying to pull it back up straight. It was leaning pretty good and the posts were rotten at the bottom. And so they tried to pull it up straight using the skid steer and we ended up just kind of giving up on it. It kind of seemed like it was too far gone, and so we slowly started pulling off the roof on it. And tearing off what we could, the siding and the roofing. Don came back over and brought his mini excavator and was able to push it over to the ground so that we could safely tear the rest of it apart.
This is the site where the barn used to stand. Now it's just ash and earth. My dad recently came to visit, and when he saw how chaotic it is to try to work and get stuff done with the kids, he was like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. So I'm going to put together a little montage for you guys so you can get a look on what it's really like, not just the 10 to 20 minute video of the awesome progress.
You can't do that. You're going to get hurt. Okay? Come here. Calm down. Now sit your brother right down next to me. Okay? Here, you can play with that. You are gonna chill out. Not the hammer.
Oh no! Oh no!
Dad, go ahead first. Aldridge! What are you doing? What the heck are you doing? We're good.
Gross.
Here, take that and take him.
Gross.
You nasty boy. Come here.
What's wrong?
Is it heavy? It is heavy, all of it.
Magnet.
Stop! What are you doing? Henry, no. Henry, leave it alone. Henry. Get up. You guys, move your bodies. Get up. Is she nice?
Yeah.
No, stop.
Go look at the fort.
Yeah, go over by Colt.
I gotta do some work, buddy.
Get down, Hen.
Go over by Colt.
I faced the nails off.
Oh, nope. Colt, grab your brother.
See, there's no mud up there. Thanks.
Look him in the face, Henry.
Henry's. One of the first projects we did besides the chicken coop was planted a little orchard out here, and so we planted 8 trees We planted 8 trees. We planted some blackberries and raspberries, and then we also planted some of the wine grapes for Brady, and we had pretty good luck with them. Some of the issues we had were the deer were coming in and trying to eat the blossoms off and then the leaves later in the season. So we had built some little round like fencing enclosures around them to prevent that from happening anymore. And so I think most of these trees will come back. A couple of them we'll probably have to replace, but this was just kind of a start to see how they'd grow, and then if we have to replace next year, then we will. And then I'm hoping we can actually add to it. We kind of down by the pig port out there, if you can see it. It's just a big, nice, open area, and so we'll likely plant some more fruit trees out there next year. So this was probably my biggest failure this year. We started a garden. We did raised rows over cardboard to try to smother out the weeds, and just had a really hard time getting the plants to grow without turning yellow and dying off. So I think they just didn't have enough nitrogen. So what we did instead is I had planted asparagus. I put rocks around it so that would be its own separate bed. Those seem to do really well this year. And then later this season we planted garlic, and so that's what's in these raised beds. And so those will come up in the spring next year. And then on the end it's just a lot of strawberries. I planted June bearing strawberries because they seem to do really well out here. But as far as like the vegetable part of it for gardening, I had a really hard time this year. And so next year I think we'll do raised beds. I think we're also going to silage tarp and expand the garden further out front towards the house. So but this was definitely like the biggest failure. I think everything else seemed to go really well, but this was a rough one for us. So when we first moved in, we started with the chickens, and then we got pigs pretty quickly after. We got 2 little pigs about an hour down the road in Pennsylvania and brought them home. We had our barn still, and so they were in a stall in there for a little while we figured out how to set up hot wire and where we were going to put them on the property. We built a little A-frame shelter for them, and we got them moved out into the hot wire netting, and then we continued to rotate them probably once a week for a while they were smaller, and then probably every couple days as they got bigger. We rotated their fencing, so they'd have a new grass area each week, and so they were able to graze on grass. And we raised them for about 3 months because we got them at 3 months old. Raised them for 3 months up to about 300 pounds. And then we hauled them into the butcher, and we got back all of our meat. We got a whole pile of bacon back, some really giant hams. This is all breakfast sausage. I had them make into patties just to make it easier on us. We can make sandwiches and stuff out of them. Got a pile of Italian sausage with the rest of that, and then underneath that is pork chops and country ribs and spare ribs and hocks and pork. No, I said pork chops. What else? Oh, the big roast, the bone-in roast. So
I used a book from Joel Salatin and built a chicken tractor. However, I was using wood that I got from the barn, and I didn't have a table saw, so it's like 3 times heavier than it should be. So I was the only one that was able to move it every day. Since then, we've got a table saw. My nephew helped me build a version 2.0 that's way lighter. So next year we're gonna have about 4 of those, maybe 5.
The meat chickens were kind of a new experience for us. We've raised them before, but we had always had someone else butcher. And so this year was the first time that we butchered ourselves. And our first batch actually went pretty well. It was kind of slow going, kind of figuring out what we were doing, but it actually turned out pretty well. I think we butchered 27 chickens the first round, and we decided that we wanted to do a second round of meat chickens, and so we butchered the second round at the end of September, and I feel pretty confident in our abilities to get it done easily and properly. And so next year we're going to try to expand and do more. We're allowed to raise up to 1,000 and process them and sell them in this state, and so I think we'll work towards probably a couple hundred next summer.
Initially, we were planning on trimming down our property by hand, and we started doing that. It was very slow going, especially with the kids. And then our neighbor Dave came up and saw what we were doing and offered us to use his tractor with a brush hog. We were very fortunate for that, and so I mowed down the majority of the acreage so that in the future we can have the cows on pasture. That was an experience. We mowed down a bunch of small trees, medium to large bushes, and it was very fun.
The first time we really got to figure out how to use a tractor.
Yeah, first time I've ever driven a tractor. Became a pro pretty quick. Didn't want to break my neighbor's tractor.
Yep. So I was very sure that we were not going to get cows this year. We weren't prepared for them, weren't set up for them. We had no permanent fencing. We had just torn down the barn, and so we had no shelter. But I tend to be the person that puts the cart before the horse, and found Sunny, a little Jersey cross calf on Craigslist, and it was a good deal. That's how they all start. We went and picked up Sunny down the road. We have no horse trailer, of course, and so I decided that she was going to go in the back of the van, and so we put a tarp in the back of the van and hauled her home, which was a new experience for Brady, but not for me. I have maybe hauled lots of animals in the back of vehicles that were not supposed to. And so we hauled home Sunny. I then, of course, found another great deal and had to bring home Bonnie. Bonnie was farther away, and she was a little bigger than Sunny was. And the guy was not quite thrilled with us hauling the calf in the back of the van, but we made it home with her. And so then we got Sunny and Bonnie and bottle fed both of them for about 2 or 3 months. They did really well. We had an issue where we tried to move them out into hot wire netting, and they hopped the netting right away, and we were chasing cows for a good hour down the road. Getting them to come back, which actually was much easier than we thought it was going to be. But then we decided we should really get the fencing going and get some kind of shelter built. They'd been staying in the lean-to shelter behind the garage, and that just wasn't going to be a permanent solution for the winter. And so we got the shelter started, and we moved them out to the field with hot wire netting, and they did really well for a couple days, and then they hopped out. And we found Bonnie up in the road, and Sunny was gone. And we had all the neighbors searching for her on quads, and we got our permanent fencing done pretty quickly after that. So they've been happy and fat in their nice little pasture since then, and we haven't had any problems. They're growing really well, doing really well. We're excited to get them bred next year, so we can have calves the following spring. Yeah, so that's what we've accomplished since we moved in. It's been about 8 months, and we kind of just hit the ground running and got quite a bit accomplished, I think. I'm pretty proud of us. there's definitely a lot of things that we can look back on and see what we can do better for next year. It's kind of nice to have all this footage for ourselves mostly, so that we can see what we did and what worked and what didn't work. But next year we've got bigger plans. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, we're gonna ramp it up next year. And there's a lot of stuff that we did this year that we didn't feel like putting in because it wasn't as big, and it's super cold out here.
It's raining ice. We're freezing.
It's raining
My
ice,
fingers are numb. So we're gonna wrap this up.